If you're not in this business to educate consumers, leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it.
Get out.
If you don't want to educate yourself and you don't want to educate your consumers, don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Welcome to the Re-Strategy Podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Graff, alongside my co-hosts, Shannon Hall and Mark Jarbo. Join us as we lift the veil on the real estate industry and give you the tools to become a more savvy home buyer, seller, agent, and lender. Stay tuned because we're about to lay it all out on the table.
Welcome back to episode 5. Today we're going to talk about Mark's favorite topic, which is lazy lenders, man, and hard deals.
Lazy lenders and hard deals. I'm like overwhelmed with the amount of pressure that comes at me with people calling me, telling me about their shitty stories of how somebody can't do their fucking job. Honestly, it makes me sick. And the biggest problem is people don't want to do these supposedly what they call hard deals, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. In some cases or scenarios, there's a risk factors, risk assessments to these files. You don't have to do the unlawful files or unethical files.
Well, they shouldn't. I mean,
They shouldn't.
It's ridiculous.
This is the reality.
Yeah.
But the people that don't want to do the poor credit or sometimes inconsistency in income, or if they have issues with their assets, you know what the problem is? Loan officers don't want to take the time to actually help the client and have a solution. And, I talk about this all the time. It's about the client experience. People complain about not having business, but they also don't want the business when it comes to them.
Yeah.
And
Well, no, they do if it's a good, easy deal.
100%.
Yeah.
The thing is, easy deal, hard deal, it's all business coming to you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? And if you help someone with a hard deal, can you imagine the amount of referrals they're going to send you?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for me, does it take a little bit more time? Sure, it does. Do I have the resources to do it? Of course I do. There is more extensive analysis in these files, the hard files, supposedly. Reviewing income in a really deep way, understanding, sometimes people jump around jobs and things like that. Once a loan officer or lender sees that, they're like, oh my God, I got to deal with all this. You know what? You're not approved, Mr. Borrower. Well, Mr. Borrower can be approved. That's a fucking problem. You are crying for business, yet you only want to support the easy stuff that's going to come, supposedly you think is going to come land in your lap. It's not. The easy stuff comes from the hard stuff. The hard deals will send you those easy deals. And it's just a kind of like a round robin per se, right? From a regulatory compliance factor, some of these deals are not doable. And I understand. You don't have to do those deals, like we said in the beginning. But at the end of the day, I think it also comes down to people don't want to take the time to do the hard deals because it's going to clog up supposedly their pipeline from making more money, from taking away from the commissions that they think they're going to get. But they're missing the factor, helping the source, helping the client, helping that consumer. And, I say this to all consumers. If you are a consumer and you were denied, I would love to know why you were denied. What was the reason you were denied by your mortgage lender? And the most common one is, I'm self-employed and I have 3 businesses and he couldn't help me or she couldn't help me. Well, let me look at that. And I'll go into depth and extensive analysis on their tax returns, business and personal, for 2 years, review it, send it to my scenarios department. Even if I'm not pulling the income correctly, which 99.9% of the time I will extract all of the income from their tax returns and use it and apply it towards their debt to income ratio. At the end of the day, if you don't put more time and effort into a consumer, the consumer will never put time and effort back into you.
Well, and that's really evident. So like this year we had last year, at the end of last year, we had one of my agents had a client that had been denied for 7 years in a row.
Yes.
7 years in a row for a mortgage.
Oh my God.
And we live in the state of Michigan, which here
We have all kinds of
down
programs.
payment assistance programs, and I mean, so many assistance programs, so many to choose from. And we are lucky in that way that we do have that.
But it boils down to, at the end, you can have all the programs. You can have all these, down payment assistance programs, or you can have some type of situation scenario or a non-QM, non-qualifying mortgage
Yep.
program or something like that you can put these borrowers in. It's all good.
Mhm.
But if you, as the lender, don't take the fucking time to look at the person's income, assets, and credit and do a full analysis and review, it is like, what are you doing?
Well,
Why
because
are
it's
you
not
wasting this
easy
person's
because
time?
they don't know how, because they don't want to learn.
Training.
It is.
It comes back to
comes
the
down
training.
to training.
And it comes back down, I think, not only that, but the person, if you're a genuine person who wants to help the consumer and not only looking after your commissions and lining your pockets only,
Mhm.
guess what? It might have not been the biggest deal. And for lenders out there, no, the $90,000 deals or $100,000 deals don't make big money. They're not big commission checks. But that $90,000 or $100,000 person will send you a $300,000 client, a $400,000 client, a $200,000 client, depending where they work, what they do, who they know, the church that they go to, meetings that they go to, people they
Exactly.
affiliate
Well,
with.
It's an epidemic in our industry,
Unbelievable.
in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry, that people don't want to help lower priced people because they're all concerned about my time is money. Listen,
Everybody's time is
everybody
money.
gets a chance to live in a home, and if you don't want to service that client, you're going to find someone who will. Like the guy that was turned down 7 times, and you got him closed. And
I
he
felt
was
so bad
over
for
the
that
moon.
guy. I felt so bad for that guy. He was ran through the
7
ringer.
years.
Ran through the ringer.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know
7
where
or
he
8
came
different
from
lenders.
and how our agent ended up with him, but it was just like,
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was great.
Unbelievable. I was taken back by it. When I approved him, I was looking at this scenario and saying to
Mhm.
myself, oh my God.
Mhm.
And by the way, the client, up until the day that he closed, was in disbelief.
Yeah.
He was like, there's just no way. Am I really going to
Well,
closing?
7 years.
He was crying.
He and I don't blame him, because he could have saved a ton of money buying any time in those last 7 years if he only had
Makes
a
no
lender that
sense.
cared, a real estate agent that cared.
There
And
you
this
go.
is why who you work with matters.
100%.
Mark, what would you suggest someone looking to get a loan, what would you suggest that they ask a lender to make sure that they're finding one who's going to actually hustle for them?
The consumer's going to have to know the questions that the lender's asking them. Are they vetting them correctly? Are they asking them the right questions? For instance, I had one about 2 weeks ago. I got it from another lender because he says he can't do it. I was like, why can't you do it? He says, well, he doesn't have a 2-year work history. I was like, oh, okay. Well, send him over to me. So the guy comes to my office, and I spend an hour and 40 minutes. The loan's around $224,000. I put him on a down payment assistance program. And the way that I took on the file was the consumer's frustrated at this point. He's gone to 3 lenders. I'm the 4th guy. He's sitting in front of me, and he's trying to talk. And I said, Mr. Borrower, can I ask you the questions? He's like, yeah, go ahead. I was like, all right. I started from 2019 all the way down to 2024. And by the way, he has 5 years worth of work history, but it just had to be articulated the right way. When did you start on this job? When did you end on this job? When did you start this job? Because he had like 5 different jobs.
Mhm.
He's a young guy. He's
Well, it
22 years
happens,
old.
yes.
And he was in school for a certain time. And for lenders who know, if you're in school, you can use that time as he was going to school. You could use it as time that he was working. So it's a work history. We have a 2-year work history, and he has it, and it's defined, and it's notated now. And now all he has to do is save 15 grand, and he can buy the house that he wants. Done.
Well, and I
That's
think
simple. His
sometimes,
credit is
like,
good and everything.
I think too, though, in all fairness, I do think consumers sometimes are afraid of saying things to their lender. They're not sure if they should tell, shouldn't tell. And I think
But the
it's
lender
really
should
important.
extract that from them.
I agree with you. Sometimes consumers are not forthcoming with everything. And the point is, it's a lobotomy on your finances. It's all going to come out anyway. So just be honest with your lender, right?
100%.
And
A financial lobotomy. I love that.
it really
You
is.
got to tell the truth.
Yeah.
You
It
have
is.
to tell
Just
the
tell
truth.
the truth because they're going to find out anyway.
I'm going to find out.
It's better just to know what we're dealing with versus because I think sometimes people are embarrassed or they feel uncomfortable about it, but this is not the time and place to be embarrassed or uncomfortable because I know you help a lot of people repair credit too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But the thing is also, you have to make the consumer feel good, feel comfortable
That's right.
with who they're working
right.
with. If you're sitting there making them feel like, oh my God, I'm here, sitting here, and I'm scared.
Right.
So when somebody comes to my office, it's all good. It's kosher. It's really easy going. I make them feel good. And at the end of the day, I have a reputation for treating people really nice.
Yeah,
and
that you do.
And I have a reputation with people trusting me.
Mhm.
And that's how I've built my business and established successes by people trusting me, by me being loyal to them also, because that's a huge factor, right? But my success rate is at 97% because I listen. The number one drawback to people not being able to do loans and not understanding is because they're not listening.
Well, they're not listening and they're not asking the right
The
questions, either.
questions. The questions.
And I think, and
huge.
again, those questions I think come down just like in real estate.
I don't
knowing what
reject
to
anybody, by
ask.
the way. I don't.
Well, knowing what to ask
Oh,
is
100%.
education. It's education.
Knowledge.
Yes.
I'm
Knowledge
empowering.
is power.
I'm empowering the consumer.
Mhm.
I won't reject them at all at any given point. I explain everything to them. And if they're not buyers right now, guess what? They will be one day.
Okay, so that guy that you guys were talking about, the one who was like 7 years into his horrific journey of trying to get approved, what could he have done differently to maybe seek out the right lender the first time around?
Well, number one, consumers should know is the questions that the lender is asking them. That's the most important piece of it, right? If the lender is asking for all of your income and notating it basically, when did you start, when did you end on every single job, that's number one. Getting the right criteria. Are they asking for the right information? Are they getting your W-2s? Those are important for 2 years. Are you getting 4 weeks of pay stubs? It's important to have those 4 weeks of pay stubs. Are you getting all of your tax returns if you're self-employed? Your profit and losses. You can get all of that from the CPA. These are what the consumer should be looking for. And
But I
with this
feel like-
gentleman,
I feel like every lender asks for that though, so there
Correct.
should be something different.
so this consumer should have felt right away from all the lenders that he was working with, somebody wasn't asking the right questions. So it's hard to define that kind of in a way to the consumer unless it's trial and error also. You can't, it's just something that is so inconsistent.
Well, I think one of the issues we have in this industry is that a lot of clients or consumers they go online and they fill out some form from
Online
some
application,
company. Yeah, an application, and then they get this letter of pre-approval, and it isn't until they identify the property that they now fully apply, start giving the tax returns, giving everything the lender's asking for, and then they find out that they're not approved. And especially in a market like this right now where we have very little inventory, I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel it's important for a consumer to get fully approved
Oh, 100%.
and just have to identify a property, title, work, and
100%.
taxes and things of that nature, because it's so competitive that a pre-qualification or a pre-approval just isn't going to hold water anymore.
No.
Sellers want to know, like, I don't want to go back on the market. I'm on the market. I want a contract that's going to close.
The consumer should be able to feel out, and also, going online, doing reviews,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's a big deal,
Yeah.
right? If you go on my reviews, I'm a 5-star. If you go on my Facebook alone, it's all 5-star. And the reason why is because I've kept that reputation. You have to know who you're working with. And again, to answer to the answer to your question is how can they define a good lender is if the lender is following up with them, reaching out to them, explaining everything to
Mhm.
them, empowering them with knowledge, why every single number goes where it's supposed to, what it's for, what it means. That's the type of lender you want to work with. I had a situation scenario where someone came from another lender and they weren't explaining their escrows and why they were so high. And I sat and explained it to them. Well, your taxes are going to be this much this year, but next year your taxes are going to go up. So for me, I have to account for that. I have to take a little bit more on the escrow side, a little bit more to put away for you to be able not to have a shortage next year to save money for you.
And I think that's true of of both of the industries that we're in, and really any industry.
Solutions.
People finding those solutions, but also being able to explain it. We're so used to our lingo,
Yes.
consumers not understanding, and I understand that people feel like, "Oh, I'm a broken record." Well, you shouldn't feel that way because every single person that
Yep.
walks in is coming from the beginning of education. And
Yes.
if you're not in this business to educate consumers, leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it.
Get out.
If you don't want to educate yourself and you don't want to educate your consumers, don't let the door hit you in the ass. That's how I
Swear to
feel about it.
God. 100%.
Like, I'm so over it. I'm over it.
Reputation to me is everything. If I am helping someone, and look, I don't ask for reviews. I'm not the review guy,
Yeah.
right? But I know when I'm done with a client, they're going to send me another client, and that client for me will be repetitive for a very long time.
You do. You have a really good client base of people
Yes.
that are dedicated to you and a good referral base. I have the same thing. I don't market myself. I don't have to. I mean, obviously I don't want
Word
to,
of mouth.
but it is word of mouth. And
Yeah.
I think that if you have a great reputation, it's going to get around.
Huge.
And if you
I
have a
love it.
terrible reputation, that's going to get around too.
100%.
And that leads us into our episode 6, which is big brand bullshit. And I can't wait to talk about that. 'cause
Yeah,
I
that'll be
think that's
fun.
Gonna, yeah.
That's going to be a great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for joining us on the Re-Strategy Pod. You're the reason we make this podcast, and we would love to hear from you. If you'd like to be featured and have a real estate story to share, good, bad, or horrific, go to restrategypod.com and share your story with us. Until next time.